The little match girl. Most terrible cold it was it snowed and was nearly quite dark an evening, the last evening of the year. In this cold and darkness there went along the street a poor little girl, bareheaded and with naked feet. When she left home she had slippers on, it is true, but what was the good of that? They were very large slippers, which her mother had hitherto worn. So large were they, and the poor little thing lost them as she scuffled away across the street because of two carriages that rolled by dreadful fast. One slipper was nowhere to be found, the other had been laid hold of by an urchin, and off he ran with it. He thought it would be capitally for a cradle when he someday or other should have children himself. So the little maiden walked on with her tiny naked feet that were quite red and blue from gold. She carried a quantity of matches in an old apron, and she held a bundle of them in her hand. Nobody had bought anything of her the whole livelong day. No one had given her a single farthing. She crept along, trembling with gall and hunger, a very picture of sorrow, the poor little thing. The flakes of snow covered her long fair hair, which fell in beautiful curves around her neck. But of that, of course, she never once now thought. From all the windows the candles were gleaming, and it smelled so delicious, see, of roast goose, for you know it was New Year's Eve. Yes, of that she thought. In a garden formed by two houses, of which one advanced more than the other, she seated herself down and cowered together. Her little feet she had drawn close up to her, but she grew colder and colder, and to go home she did not venture, for she had not sold any matches and could not bring a farthing of money. From her father she would certainly get blows, and at home it was cold too, for above her she had only the roof, through which the wind whistled, even though the largest crane were stopped up with strong and racks. His little hands were almost numbed with gold. Oh, a match might afford her a word of comfort, if she only dared take a single one out of the bundle, drawn it against the wall, and warmed her fingers by it. She drank one out, reached. How it blazed, how it burned. It was a warm, bright flame, like a candle, as she held her hands over it. It was a wonderful light. It seemed seemed really to the little maiden as though she were sitting before a large iron staff with burnished, burnished brass feet and brass ornament atop. The fire burned with such blessed influence. It warmed so delightfully. The little girl had already stretched out her fat feet to warm them too, but the small flame went out. The stuff vanished. She had only the reins of the burned out match in her hand. She rapped another against the wall. It burned brightly, and where the light fell on the wall, there the wall became transparent like a veil, so that she could see into the room. On the table was spread and snow white the 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 the, the tablecloth. Upon it was splendid porcelain service, and the roast goose was steaming famously with its stuffing of apple and dried plums. And what was still more capital to behold was the goose happened down from the dish, reeled about on the floor with knife and fork in its breast, till it came up to the poor little girl. When the match went out and nothing but the thick, cold, thin wall was left behind, she lighted another match. Now there she was sitting under the most magnificent Christmas tree. It was still large and more decorated than the one which she had seen through the glass door in the rich merchant's house. Thousands of lights were burning on the green branch, and gaily colored victories, such as she had seen in the shop windows, looked down up her. The little maiden stretched out her hands towards them when the match went out. The lights of the Christmas tree rose higher and higher. She saw the now as a star in heaven. One fell down and formed a long trail of fire. Someone is just dead, said the little girl, from her old grandmother, the only person who had loved her and who was now no more, had told her that when a star falls, a soul ascends to God. She drew another match against the wall. It was again light, and in the lustre there stood the old grandmother, so brilliant and radiant, so mild, and with such an expression of love. Grandmother, cried the little one, oh, take me with you. You go away when the match burns out. You vanish like the warm stuff, like the delicious roast goose, and like the magnificent Christmas tree. And she wrapped the whole bundle of matches tightly against the wall, for she wanted to be quite sure of keeping her grandmother near her, and the matches gave such a brilliant light that it was brighter than at no one day. Never formerly had the grandmother been so beautiful and so tall. She took the little maiden on her arm, and both flew in brightness and in joy, so high, so very high, and they above was neither cold nor hunger nor anxiety. They were with God. But in the corner at the cold hour of dawn, sat the poor girl with rosy cheeks and with a smiling mouth, leaning against the wall, frozen to death on the last evening of the old year. Stiff and struck sat the child there with her matches, of which one bundle had been burnt. She wanted to warm herself, people said. No one had the slightest suspicion of what beautiful things she had seen. No one even dreamed of the splendor in which, with her grandmother, she had entered on the joys of a new year.